Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich as Russia. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So we have a new constitution. We have won the war in Bulgaria, and things are going pretty well. I don't know what happened to our field marshal, but we'll just, Oh, because Denkin for some reason got pulled out of the army, or got pulled out of the field marshal position to go fight in Finland. Okay, then you know what? You do that, Denikin. We'll bring you back to field marshalship sooner rather than later. But okay, so let's see. Currently doing the rest of the army because we need to make sure we actually do those army reforms so that we don't get a little bit of a coup d'etat, right? Let's see. How long do we have until that is ready to go? 140 days, so we'll definitely have time. An immediate response from Bukhara. While Bukhara is technically recognized an independent nation, with its own protected sovereignty and domestic policy, the truth is that it is firmly within the Russian sphere, bound by treaties of alliances and friendship and monitored by a federal cadre of Russian advisors and agents. These emissaries of Russian rule are integral to the maintenance of the Bukharan state, but it is equally true that their loyalties lie squarely with Moscow, and that they monitor a host closely for any signs of independent-minded ambition. Our recent reports from our agents in Bukhara have streamed in the normal detailed anti-bandit campaign in the countryside, hostile troop movements on the Turkestan and Afghanistan borders, and demonstration in the city of Samarkand. However, there are some worrying signs within. Notes that the reporting advisors were not invited to a response meeting, vague allusions to increased influence of anti-Russian figures in the court, and some typical reports outright missing. It appears that while there have been no serious moves to undercut our control, the Bukharans are purposely boxing out our levels of power within their government. Of course, we cannot exactly invade our ally because our feelings are hurt, but we can begin preparing a response, just in case the situation escalates. Due to change of the geopolitical situation, Bukhara has temporarily slipped from our grasp. Okay, that's concerning, but that's okay. Eventually, we'll probably make our moves back in the Caucasus. 37 will go for a little bit more fuel refining. We're going to get 2 more techs in just a second as well. Okay. Construction 2 is finished. What do we want? Let's go excavation 2. I think seems reasonable. And I think now's a good time. It's still 38. Is there anything that's like 37? Experimental medium tanks. 38 as well. Anything in here? You know what? Trains. Yeah, let's get the armored train. They might prove useful. And new evidence has surfaced. Unseen evidence regarding assassination of Viktor Chernov has found its way into the hands of Anton Denikin. How he came by this information is unclear, and it's entirely possible the chief of the army commissioned the investigation himself, utilizing only the military intelligence away from the prying eyes of the SRS. After all, the fate of late Lev Karnalov left much of the army bitter, feeling that Savinkov is unjustly politicked to remove the venerated general. Regardless of how these documents came to be, they do seem to imply President Savinkov's more direct involvement with the assassination of Viktor Chernov, and that this was later used to incriminate Karnalov. This contradicts the official story, where the assassin very likely acting on the direction of Lev Karnalov. It is possible that his evidence has been crafted to whitewash Karnalov's role in the assassination, and came under heavy criticism from party-affiliated intelligence services. If it came to light that Karnalov was framed and took the fall for Savinkov's own assassination, one can be sure the army's faith in Savinkov would plummet. Military goes up by 1. Military goes up, replace the chief of the army, political power. I mean, negative 20 army experience is basically free. That's not even a punishment at all. Ignore you, ignore you. What traits do we have? Cap plus 2.5%. Let's go efficiency gain. I think seems okay. Defense production cost, that is going to be for Toad and... I mean, this is like stuff we don't really care about too much. Let's go for more reliability. That seems okay as well. Is there anything we can also spend at this 26 points on? I don't really think so right now. Yeah, what do you even want me to click? Oh, it's for all the nationwide things, which I'm really like not as interested in. Let's be honest. By the way, how are you guys doing in East Turkestan? Oh, you're actually doing fine. Hopefully you'll actually enter Kamul soon. We can secure ourselves an ally down there. And in Spain, I think things are still going kind of our way. And a Cornal Conspiracy. With the recent investigations, we can finally answer what is happening behind the curtains in the aftermath of Chernov's assassination. According to a testimony from a certain stab captain who was part of Kornilov's inner circle, he described the conspiracy dating back to the 1934 election and has provided a picture of what drove Kornilov to this act of madness. It appears Kornilov has come to regret his role in crushing Bordeyev's uprising in 1929 after he realized that Savinkov is far more dangerous and less controllable than Kornilov had originally imagined. Fearing betrayal, Kornilov kept his conspiratorial circle as small as possible, trusting that his position as Minister of War would sway both the army and the nation to his side once the president had been dealt with. It appears the plot began to unravel when Kornilov risked approaching Chernov to ask for his help in calming Russia once Savinkov was out of the picture. Details are unclear, but it seems that the meeting between Kornilov and Chernov went very poorly, with Chernov disparaging what he saw as a barefaced power grab by the army. Disappointed and fearing a conspiracy revealing, Kornilov hastily arranged the infamous Chernov assassination, having found Leonov through a relative active in the conspiracy. Chernov carefully altered the security of the Senate Palace so Leonov would not have been stopped and ensured that the assailant would not survive for long. When the government voiced its skepticism of this theory about socialist plots, Kornilov feared exposure was only a matter of time, and initiated assault on the Kremlin that concluded with his own demise. Kornilov, how could you? And this is still about the missing planes, right? Again, not a huge deal. And we just need to do one of them, right? Where is it? We actually only need to be halfway. Will of Victory, Science of Victory. So which of these do we actually want? A great question. We have to go, it's down here somewhere. War of Motors, 2 military factories. Will of Victory. Land Doctrine goes down. Cavalry units are cheaper. That's just design costs, though, which I don't really care about because obviously we kind of have... Okay, most of these we don't really care about. Artillery bonuses. Army experience goes down a little bit. Better tanks? I mean, could be good. So we'll probably go for Will for Victory. Sounds better. Or we just do, again, or we just do War of Motors and we just get a handful of military factories, which sounds good to me as well. The Russian army. Since the humiliating defeat in the Eastern China Railway conflict of 1928 and the subsequent chaos of the Bordeyal Putsch in 1929, winds of change blew through the Russian army, previously calcified after the victory of the Whites in the Civil War. Commander-in-Chief Lev Kornilov seized the initiative, launching an ambitious program of professionalization, modernization, and rearmament, influenced by the writing of reformist officers such as Nikolai Govlin and young Colonel Yevgeny Meshner. Incompetent or politically involved officers were relieved, new equipment standards and development programs for tanks and aircraft established, a uniform modern tactical doctrine was written by General Lieutenant Arshney Zachdov, and wide overhauls made to the military education with the eye towards opening the officer corps to lower classes, as well as former Reds. In 1936, the Russian army stands as a force superior to any on its borders, and yet, that was not enough. Triumph over Germany in the coming war will require far more, and the timetable is short. However, the path forward is contested. On one hand, somewhat disfavored by Kornilov, lies Nikolai Govlin, a prominent reformist since even before the Great War, and his neo-Servian clique, such as Pazhly Provnon and Sergei Nilov, who continue to advocate for ambitious reforms to the Russian command structure, comprehensive military scientific education, and a shift to a German-inspired mission-based decentralization command with the goal of matching or even beating German tactical performance. On the other hand is a new faction of officers colloquially known as the Black Epaulets, headed by Civil War legend Sergei Markov and theorist Yakov Shlashnyov and Yevgeny Meshner, who argue for the continuation of a bold shock-based offensive tactics of the Civil War with a new focus on mechanization. Well, I think we will go for the mechanization route. And defeat in Raponia. God damn it, the Finns have gotten us once again. It seems that we underestimated the tenacity of the Finns. After the reinforcements arrived, they started to slowly whittle down our forces through relentless assaults in the forest. While casualties were not terribly high, morale quickly plummeted as the quick show of strength turned into a bloody frozen nightmare. Forces were quickly withdrawn towards Rapola, but holding onto the town was deemed pointless given the current state of our forces. However, the skirmish was not for nothing. The Germans seemed inactive and only issued diplomatic protests later on, while the Finns seemed shocked. We've also acquired a small stockpile of their newest submachine guns, which were definitely a tool that won the battle for the Finns. Mass use of submachine guns at close range is somewhat thing that we should investigate for our own shock formations. 2 army experience. Oh, a 50% bonus on infantry weapons is not bad at all. You guys, please go back into the Finnish frontier. And Denikin, if you would please, like, become the field marshal, I would appreciate that. You actually have too many troops on the border with Finland. I think we can take, like, a few off of here. Send in the Purple Army. I think just for right now seems okay. Actually, maybe Purple's not the best. Let's just send these 3 to... You're already filled up. Okay. Ignore you for the time being. More wars are happening in India. Again, we kind of want Hyperbad to win. They're the only Indian faction that's actually able to join us, which would be nice. But we'll see if that actually happens. And a new wave of Asian settlement. The land reforms largely complete. A new wave of settlement to Central Asia has begun, with Russian settlers taking up arable lands in the Krishna-populated, Kazakh in their own language, provinces of Shmirny and Semiplinsk. There are already signs of conflict between the settlers and both the local Kazakhs and the Cossack landowners, reminiscent of the same troubles that which began with the uprising in 1916. The Land Reform Tribunal, manned by Kazakh intelligentsia of the Alash Party and wealthier Cossacks, has been doing its best to resolve these disputes as they arise. But the settler numbers are increasing at such a pace that they say they will not be able to keep a lid on things for much longer. Okay, as the Kazakh emergency, 5% negative stability, and we do less damage against all of the smaller states down here, unfortunately. How did you guys get... You're almost in the capital. East Turkestani delegation requests support. The East Turkestani delegation arrived this morning requesting us support their independence war against the Zhejiang clique. How should we respond? Well, I mean, we've already sent them. Sure, we'll give them full support. I mean, if we get used to the capital, that might actually just capitulate them right now. Which it did. Fantastic. So that should be an ally for us in Western China, which would be nice. And the Old SOVIC. The Khorasan Kaz regime has always been the men of the first SZRS, the times when it was a resistant organization and not a political party. It is the men who fought from Yaroslav to Rybik to Arkhangelsk, who braved the cold in northern Russian forests for 2 years before their great march east. The camaraderie of the soldiers in the Northern Volunteer Army formed the core of the SZRS, and it remains a clear division between the soldier Sovniks of the first SZRS and the political Sovniks of the second. Who are the old Sovniks? One only has to look at Voss's right-hand man, Alexander Dikov Derentel, Fleget Klepkov, Karl Golper, Karol Veniglaski, Maximilian Filensko, Ivan Sanov, Nikolai Mamrin, Nikolai Sakharov, and so on. The very men whose uniforms were decorated with the Order of the North Ice March by General Karlov in 1921. United by blood, toil, and cold, a more primal connection than anything that civilian life can offer. It's very hard for the new SZRS members to penetrate this circle, and Avaz has always considered the civilians as the outer rim of the party. Valuable, yes, but untested in fire and blood. This has created a lot of resentment, as somewhat mediocre men like Dikov are elevated to the highest positions because of the deep trust Avaz has for them, which also makes them essentially untouchable within the party. Okay, so 61 days until you're ready to go. We will not deal, again, we do not deal with the Prussians. Get them the hell out of here. And I don't remember how many you are going to give me. Are you a 50,000 or an 80,000? Oh, 100,000. Well. Well, let's do the Ural Wagon Factory. And the Christian labor movement. The Sovniks were never particularly popular among industrial workers, their policies have been most heavy-handed. With the abolition of unions, mandatory labor cartels became a system of state control over labor, tying the workers' livelihoods to the political loyalty. With socialists away from the political scene, in some areas new labor unions have been formed, but they are Christian, Solidarist labor unions, working under the banner of the NSS, the National Union of Solidarists. This has been much to the annoyance of the bureaucrats of the VES and the industrial managers. While these unions do preach for class collaborationism, they have nonetheless pointed out corruption and abuse within the system and accused the incompetent managers of sabotaging the Russian national economy. In the courts, these cases are confusing, as the workers, backed by NSS lawyers, have made gains. While they do seem to be a fitting tool to build loyalty among the workers, this pseudo-communist agitation from the NSS has drawn much ire, and many have demanded these actions be stopped by sabotaging the economy. Stop from sabotaging. Well, we do not seek freedom from both capitalism and socialism. Yeah, Yeah, so we want to move more towards the Solar Artist. And we get 4% stability, which I'm also going to 100% take. Okay, how are you guys again doing in the south? I mean, again, Harlests aren't pushing too far, which is nice. I'm going to delete your line. I'm going to move you maybe to these southern provinces. And a war in Hungary, you say? How many troops can we send? 5? Well, I mean, I would like to... let's send a 5-stack. We will send that to Hungary. Again, I'm not expecting them to win. But I would like to try to make Austria suffer as much as possible. That's in our interest, for sure. Okay. The first... Actually, wait, which one? I guess this popped up first. Actually, I guess this one's older. Anyways. The American Kolchak. A major newspaper, People's Cause, published a lengthy interview with General Douglas MacArthur titled The American Kolchak. The interview goes in depth into the American situation, following closely by Russian audiences, with a mix of pity and horror. Will the Americans have to go through the same trial of blood and fire that the Russians had? How many will be murdered by the American Chetniks? Much of the publicity is focused on the American whites, a term that obviously carries very different meaning in American politics. The article popularized the idea of MacArthur as the savior of America, a man with a pinch of Kolchak and Kornilov in his veins, a stern military man able to make decisions that weak politicians were not able to make. Some Russian publications idolize who he belonged to, perhaps even comparing him favorably to Savinkov. But the overall consensus seems to be that MacArthur's government is a legitimate one, and deserves the support of the Russians, both from the citizens and the government. Well, I'm sorry to say that MacArthur is fucked. I mean, now Washington has been cut off from the rest of this area here, maybe they can do a little bit better, but we'll see. Today, the president received the Prime Minister of Romania, Carlu who has dedicated multiple days of travel across the Russian countryside to see the achievements of the Sovniks. His own party rose into power shortly before Savinkov's ascension in 1934, but quickly recognized the new Russian government as a like-minded one. Despite the earlier anti-Russian rhetoric and the suspicion towards Savinkov's character, relations have been warming. The purpose of the visit has not been announced, but it seems clear that the two leaders are interested in deepening their ties in a shared struggle against the dual evils of Germanic imperialism and international socialism. Cardew and Savinkov took part in a service at the Cathedral of Christ in the Savior near the Kremlin, and later observed a parade of the 1st Guard Tank Division, bolstered by a contingent of the 12th Sovnik Death Battalion. After spending the initial days in Moscow, Prime Minister Cardew plans to tour the resident countryside to see how the SRS has managed to transform the lives of the Russian peasants for the better. As a visiting speaker invited the local chapter of the SRS, Cardew drew large crowds of interested listeners. Much of the speech was focused against the struggle against the Jews and on a spiritual renewal of Orthodox civilization. Later on, local newspapers characterized the conductor's speech as inspirational and magnetic, young and dynastic as opposed to Savinkov's calmer and somber style. Later on, Cardew was granted civilian honors to acknowledge his role as a Russian ally and brother. Well, I appreciate 25 political power. Court to military, I don't think we need to worry about that quite yet. I will put 1 point in influencing Poland. And you know what? Let's get more oil fields. That might be important. If we cannot get Baku, we need more domestic oil for sure. In Romania, can I invite you yet? I think we need to invite Serbia first. Also, we cannot invite Serbia because they're still at war with Macedonia here, but that's their own problem. Switzerland has had revolutionaries, but they've lost both provinces, which usually leads to them going national populist, which should benefit us. And the filmization of the Pale Horse. It is a well-known fact that the Vaz is not merely a terrorist and a revolutionary in his youth, but also a writer, seeking to portray the moral conflict and strength of the character needed to persist in the struggle. These memoirs from his youth have never faded away, and forged the core of what Boris Savinkov envisioned the new Russian ideal to be. Therefore, to bestow the new generation to his knowledge, he's ordered one of his most famous novels, The Pale Horse, to be adopted into a full-motion picture. Fantastic. It's an inspiring story. Also, I appreciate the 1% party popularity boost, because again, that leads to just a little bit more lovely stability. So, truce will be there on the 29th. Okay, it's actually still a while until they actually get there. 4 divisions. Let's just send that to Ukraine. Move our troops down south. How are you faring? Waning. Region assassinated, which also seems pretty bad for you. Okay, we do see some German troops getting pulled back. How are you guys? You guys are probably high. We're currently high as well. Like, you know, delete this line. Be here. Like, maybe we, like, try to push here and, like, take this supply hub, I think maybe makes some sense. 67. We can probably push both these territories, which is very, very nice for us. And I don't... What do we need to do to get East Kyrgyzstan on side? I think it might be, like, in the focus tree somewhere? I'm not too sure. Oh, so did we complete the military? Yes, okay, that has been completed. Fantastic. But I will say, with a war in Hungary, and a unfortunate defeat against the Finns, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not enjoying, thumbs down. If you want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.